so that we don't waste time, and we like to reward those that come early with an early start. So I would just go straight to read Miss KK, our guest today, her bio. Whilst I was reading it, I was inspired. Truly, I must say, I was inspired, I was motivated. And I was just asking myself some questions like, okay, what's your excuse, Pamela? If she can do it, I think you should push yourself and do more. Okay, so Okeyifu Ajayi is an evidence based educator and the founder of Business Mind Center, an educational institution and training center in Nigeria. She founded Business Mind Center in 2013 and has grown the organization to enviable heights in the education landscape in Nigeria. She is experienced in curriculum integration, technology-based intervention, and is certified as an assessment lead by Evidence-Based Education in the United Kingdom. She is also trained business analyst and a professional member of the British Computer Society. Okeyifu got her first degree from the University of Benin, Nigeria, and she has additional professional certification from the following notable educational institution, amongst others: the British Computer Society, Rutgers Business School, New Jersey, Harvard Graduate School of Education, Boston and Curry School of Education, Virginia State University, excuse me. With experience spanning over 2 decades, she is passionate about capacity development in the education and entrepreneurship space because she believes that without a functional education framework and practice, nation building will be truncated. She is an experienced administrator and business process professional with over 20 years of experience across several fields. I could go on and on and on. It's such a long, and not just that it's long, it has weight. And so I'm so inspired. And so that we don't take much of our time, I want us to just jump right into it. She has a lot of experience and things back there. So we just kick right into it. Thank you so much, Ma, for giving us the honor to be here. We really appreciate your presence. And so I'll leave the floor. The floor is open for you, Ma.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening,
We
everyone.
can't hear you.
Apologies. Let me check what's going on. Can you hear me now? Can you please confirm?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share. Thank you, first of all, for allowing me to share virtually at your amazing conference. It was, I mean, I wish I could be there, but I couldn't, you know. So let me just jump right into it, because I can imagine it's evening. You know, some of us might have work tomorrow. Some of us might just want to chill. So let me jump right into it. I have shared a copy of the abridged slides with the facilitator, the moderator for today. So I'm sure she will let you have that as soon as, you know, when it's the appropriate timing. All right, so we're going to be looking at redefining your educator identity. And we did start that conversation on Saturday. We will just, you know, go along in that conversation today. And I'm hoping that you guys have questions that you had on Saturday and you would repeat those questions again today. All right. I mean, why is it important to redefine your educator identity? It's important because depending on where you are, you might want to switch or you might want to go really deep on some things. So it's not like you don't have an identity, but the question here is you want to redefine it. So how do you need to redefine it? What do you need to begin to do to redefine it? You know, so those are the sort of questions that we will be answering, or rather, I'm hoping that this session today will answer. That's a little bit about me. It's you can find it somewhere else. You can find it on Google. These are some of the things that we're going to be looking at today. You know, who are you? Would you have a vision? Because that is important. Without a vision, then there's not a lot you can do, to be honest. Self-reflection. I typically have tools. I like to use a lot of tools because tools I can reuse. I just don't like to sit down and say, oh, this is what I want to do. No, 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 no. I like to use tools. I like to be very intentional about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and that's how I like to also teach the people who, work with me, who I have opportunity to train and things like that. Right. And then, of course, we'll look at establishing your brand as an educator. And then what skills you need to master before we wrap up and conclude and hopefully go into question and answers. Of course, I tweaked the slides a bit since this is a virtual conference and I have a bit more time to do it. So I added a few other things that weren't in the initial slide, but it would just still be as valuable. I can promise you that. So of course, we're looking at redefining your personal identity as an educator, as a teacher, as an admin person, as a school owner, as a founder, maybe as somebody who even wants to pivot into the education space. We're going to look at the point of view of personal branding as we do this, right? Because when you think of redefining identity, when you think of your identity, it sort of goes into the domain of branding. So we're going to be looking at it from a personal branding point of view today. So what is a personal brand? And it will be great for me to see you in the chat box. I know I do have a definition here on the screen, but what is a personal brand? And I just want you to take your answer from this guy on the right side of your screen, right? If you notice, we can't see his face. What we see is a reflection of, maybe the clouds in front of him or something else that he's looking at. So in the chat box, if you could just let me know, based on looking at this guy on the right side of your screen, how would you define personal identity, personal brand? If I can just see that in the chat box, that'd be fantastic. What people see. Okay, I love it. Thanks, Marianne. Fantastic. How people perceive you. I love that, Halima. Fantastic, fantastic answers already. We have a bit more. What people see, what they think, a niche, a unique niche one is known for. That's also a very, very good one. So that unique niche that you're known for, if you think about something, immediately your mind goes straight to that person. If we think about milk, a lot of us think what's that thing? Peak. We think needle. We think, cowbell. There's certain places our minds go to when we hear certain things. If we think there's this shows that we have where people come in on stage and interview them. We think about Oprah, because she does that a lot. So those sort of things, right? That is your niche. And so fantastic, Jennifer, that you added that. William, how you impact in your everyday world. That's also a great one. And those really are, Danielle says, your identity, what you stand for, what you offer, what people know they will get when you show up. I love it. And these are all really keenly tied to your personal brand, okay? It really does define who you are as a person. It is what gives people a reason to want to gravitate towards you, right? It is what people think about when you're not in the room, what they say about you when you're not in the room, and that is your personal brand. And that is the sort of thing you want to begin to think about when you think identity. What identity do I want people to have of me? Now, when you look at these two, when I go to the market, for example, and I want to buy seasoning cubes, I would always say I want to buy Maggi. Always. And it gets me every single time. And like I mentioned in the video, my daughter is always like, Mom, it's not Maggi, it's no, But the reality is they have niched this market space so much. They have owned it so much that automatically my mind goes to Maggi. It doesn't matter if I'm buying any other seasoning cube. That's what I think about, right? And so when you begin to think about yourself as a personal brand, when you begin to think about redefining yourself, you need to say, one of the questions you need to begin to ask is, how can I own my domain, right? How can I be that household name that people come to? Same thing when you think about Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, right? Some people will tell you, oh, Pepsi is much sweeter. Some tell you, the Coke of taste is just so great. Pepsi different. Oh, people have all sorts of reasons. But guess what? That is an emotional connection to this drink. Pepsi or Coca-Cola or Biggie or water, whatever it is. People have an emotional connection to brands. What sort of emotional connection, emotions do you inspire in people? That's another question you need to answer when you think about redefining your brand. When people they think about you right now, do they think, that person is hit and miss? I don't know. I don't need stress. I need somebody who's going to just be stressless in their delivery. And that in itself is emotions that you are inspiring in people, right? And so you need to be able to say to yourself and define those by emotions and say, when I walk into a room, how do I want people to feel? When I'm not in the room, how do I want people to feel? When you hear my name, how do I want them to feel? Right? When you hear any of these names, if you think about one of the reasons why people will tell you, I mean, Indomie is the only one that exists. It's because of trust, right? It's recognition. It's longevity. They're used to it. It doesn't mean either of these other ones are not great. No, but it's just they're used to it, right? So people need to be able to trust you, and when they trust you, they would time and time again call on you, and that is important. Now we're going to look at people. When you think about these two people, and if you could just name these two people, so left and right, who are they? Can we name them? Let me see if we know our entertainers. Okay. Reputation. Fantastic. Who are these people? What are their names? These two ladies that we have on the screen right now, what are their names? Okay. Is Oprah Winfrey left or right? Beyonce, Oprah and Beyonce. Okay. I see that some of us know our people. How difficult was it for you to recognize them without the microphone, without the studio for Oprah? How difficult was it? Did you look at them and immediately remembered? Yeah, thanks, Benita. Thanks, Rose. Thanks, Mariam. When you looked to see that, was it easy for you to recognize that this was Oprah? Or was it about, oh, who is that? Who are those? How difficult was it for you? Easy or difficult? Can I see? 1 for easy, 2 for difficult. Somebody says Tara. Wow, Jenny, very easy. Jenny, that's not Tara. That's Beyonce. Okay, thank you. One, fantastic. So for those of us who are commenting, it was especially Oprah. Marian, I beg your pardon. It will be interesting to know why it was especially easy for you to recognize Oprah, right? And let me share my thoughts with you. When you see these people, you think consistency. They're consistently in your face. If you wait till the Turner, I'm sorry, she's not here today. All right, today we have Oprah and we have Beyonce. When you think about Oprah and Beyonce, you think consistency, and that's why we know them. I mean, Beyonce is very niche, right? So if you're not somebody who is into music, you may not necessarily know her, especially when she doesn't have the mic, which is why I use this picture. But if you're somebody who is into entertainment, you would see her and immediately you'll remember. But I mean, but when you think about Oprah, you would always, it's so easy to, because she's with the mic, she's without the mic, she has moved out of that space of just being somebody who interviews people, right? Who has these live video podcast, video sessions with people. She has moved out of that space, and she's more broad in terms of her delivery space. Yeah, and that's what you think about with Oprah. I mean, with Beyonce, she's more niche in terms of just the music sort of industry. That's why a lot of people might not find it easy to recognize her. Now, consistency, as I mentioned, for these two people, right, is what will make you remember them. How consistent are you in the things that you do? Some of us in this room maybe want to go beyond the space of being a teacher. Maybe we want to go into this from the space of being a school administrator. Maybe as a school owner, you're thinking, you know what, I would like to go into consulting. I would like to go into personal coaching. There are a few other things I know I can do. Either coaching parents, coaching new teachers, coaching new school leaders. And we may have all of these ideas that we have floating around in our heads. What have we done about it? That's the question. If you don't do something about what it is that you have on the inside of you, it's always going to stay there as a seed. You need to move. You need to take it and you need to plant it. You need to do something with it. And you have to do it consistently. Because if you're not consistent at it, then you're sporadic, right? And that means you really might not grow. What you simply are doing is you put the seed in the ground, you dig it up again to check if it's germinating, and then you say, oh, it's germinating, and then you cover it again. Every single time you dig it up, you truncate the progress. All right. And that's how you need to begin to think about your brand. Now let's look at these two people. Left and right. Which one is the easiest person to know? Can I see your answers in the chat box? Which is the easiest one to know? Trump. Donald Trump. Trump. Okay. Does anybody know the guy on the right? Yeah, I get you. No, you know both of them. What are their names, please, Danielle? Okay, who else can guess the guy? Richard Branson. Yes, Richard Branson is the guy on the right. He is our Virgin guy, right? Richard Branson. Thanks for that, Benita. Yes, Danielle and Trump, right? One of the reasons why you may not know Richard Branson is he's not usually mired in controversy, unlike Trump. Right, or anyway, in recent, well, maybe not just in recent times, Trump's name always typically comes up in some very controversial spaces, right? But again, like Beyonce, if you're not somebody who is in the business space, right, who is actually tracking things that have to do with the business and entrepreneurship world, you may not know Richard Branson. But Trump, I mean, at some points, he became like an entertainer, even if he is the past president of the United States. But he was somebody whose name, I mean, even my niece knows him, and she's 6 years old, you know. So that's the thing, right? With what you feed yourself. And that's what this slide represents. If you want to do something, if you want to be something, if you're aspiring for a state that is different from where you currently are, what are you feeding yourself? If you're not feeding yourself the right things, how do you hope to get there? If all we see every single time are controversial issues, are people who seem to be making the headlines, but those headlines do not necessarily connect with us, then how do we hope to redefine the space that we want to be? That's a question. You don't have to answer it right now, but it is one you need to answer, right? Because when you think about redefining your identity, the people you connect with, the way you feed your mind matters, because that is what you're growing literally on the inside of you. So that matters. Yes, so let's move on from here. Now, when you think about an educator, of yourself as an educator, either in the academic, to be honest, we're all educators, whether we are the founders of the industry or we work in the industry, or it really doesn't matter. We're all educators. How are you defined in that space? How are you seen in that space? What is your snapshot as an educator? Now, I need you guys to Google this guy on the screen. Can we please Google Elon Musk? Please just take out your phones and Google Elon Musk. And in the chat, let me know what you find about Elon Musk. Just very quickly, just one or two things that you find about Elon Musk. Just let me know what it is. So please just Google him and then let's know. Dun-dun-dun. Okay, have we started? Is anybody letting me know what they see, what they found, what they read? Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Marianne. Of SpaceX, yes, and X, you know, Twitter, formerly called Twitter. It's now called X. Tesla, yes. Angel investor, business magnate, an investor, CEO Tesla Motors, exactly. Now, I need you to take out Elon Musk's name and please type your name. Type in Akeode Pamela Ojiofor Raphael. Type in Jennifer Audu. Type in Danielle Achezemia. Type in Benita Flade or Flade. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. Type in Afrelib Academy. Type in Mariam Yakubu. What do you find? Mariam, why are you laughing? What do you find? What is there in your name? right? What are the images that come out for you? Type my name, Okeyifu Ajayi. What do you find? Okay, that's what we see for Afrelib, for Joyce Gomina. Good. Now, I want you to scroll, right? Scroll through those images. Scroll through, so click on images, click on maps, click on all, click on news, click on all those tabs on Google and search what in that Google space is representative, 100% of you. That is your digital footprint, and that is your public footprint. How far did you have to search to find yourself? Are you still sieving through some craziness that is representative of you? Is that who you are? We need to think about all of these things. That's your public identity that is right there. That's your public identity. Is that what you want it to be? That's your footprint. Anytime, and we need to understand this, right? We used to, visit online. But since COVID, we literally live online. We have houses online. We have businesses online. We have friends online we've never met before. Some of you on this screen have never met me before. Never. And I've never met you guys before either. We've seen online, we've interacted online, we're friends online, we're following each other online. We feel like we know these people, but you don't know me physically. You only know me online. That is public. Public. What part of your public identity is out there that you did not even want to be there? And what part of it does not exist online? That is your brand right there. So before you begin to think about defining your identity or redefining your identity, you need to recognize that you already have an identity. And you need to say to yourself, this identity that I have, is it the one I want to have? And if you can't answer that question in a way that gives you some level of assurance, some level of peace, then you need to do something about it. Now, the question is, what do you want to do about it? Right? That is the question. Who are you? I mean, I think Mariam said, I'm not online. There are many of us that are going to see, before you even see yourself, you have to check. And maybe you see one odd picture and another odd picture. Maybe you see a picture of yourself with some other people, with nobody else there. Maybe the pictures, most of the pictures that are being shown are not even of you. Because guess what? There's somebody else that is called Okeyifu Ajayi out there. There's somebody else that is called Mariam out there. There's somebody else that's called Danielle out there. So maybe that's even the person that was pulled up, not you. Who are you? Is my question today. You need to already know that you exist. You saw a lot, Mariam, exactly. You need to know you already exist as an identity. Is it the right one? And that's another question that you need to answer. Yes, I can help you answer that one. I talked about this identity wheel because it is such a powerful tool. Remember, I said I love to use tools, okay? Because with tools, you literally can reuse a tool, right? That's why I like to use tools. I can reuse them. I can go back and check. It says your father-in-law comes up. That's your identity. You don't have a footprint, or your footprint is so faint, or it is hidden behind the footprint of others. That's not okay, right? Because it means that when people are looking for something and they Google you, you don't exist, even though you exist. And these days, people search you first online. I mean, how did I get introduced to speak to you? She met me online. She saw me maybe on Instagram or on Facebook or somewhere. And that's how she met me. We've never met physically. Never. If you want to redefine yourself, understand where you currently are. And then say to yourself, I need to retrace my steps, or I need to move up more powerfully from here. This identity wheel again helps. And you can replace this segment with anything that you choose, all right? And you can keep redoing it. You can add on more segments. It just really depends on you. And what you want to do with this wheel is say to yourself, what is public and what is private, okay? What part of my personality and values does nobody have any business knowing, right? They need that needs to be there. Well, public people can know that that I'm married, and I've been married for 18 years. They can know that I have two children. They can know some of those basics, but they don't need to know the deep stuff about my children's school. Maybe they're just some things that it's not people's business to know. What are my hobbies and interests? They may know a few, right? Private, public. What is it? People need to see me as a human being, as an authentic person, right? And that's why some of these hobbies, interests, and personalities need to be infused in your public identity, because people need to be able to relate with you. That's what makes you relatable. When people see, oh wow, you mean she struggled as well when she was 20 years old? Oh, you mean she sometimes thinks about selling her school as well? So it's not just me. That's people relating with you. Those are connections. Those are engagement tools. All right. Financial goals, whatever it is that you want to put in this segment, put them there. And then do a gap analysis. It's called a gap analysis. What you want to do with your gap analysis is say to yourself, and I didn't put that tool here. A gap analysis just helps you look at where you currently are versus where you want to go and say, how do I bridge the gap? That's what a gap analysis is. And so you need to be able to do that gap analysis based on your identity wheel, okay? And remember, you can switch out the segments, you can include new segments, you can delete them, you can reduce them. It just depends on you. Of course, when you're going into rebranding or a personal branding exercise, you don't want to do too many things at once. Okay, so usually I say to people, what is your strongest impact space, right? And that's where this tool helps. Okay, so I've talked about your identity wheel today as your tools. If somebody can put it in the chat box for us, can somebody scribe for us in the chat box? For redefining your identity, we've talked about using the identity wheel. We've talked about doing a gap analysis. This is a VMOST brand analysis, and you can do this use a VMOST for a number of things. All right, so because of my training as a business analyst, I sort of know a lot of these tools, and I reuse them in a variety of ways, okay? What VMOST is your vision, mission, objective, strategy, and your tactics. That's what it is. You can decide to just do a most. You can decide to do a VOST. You can decide to do an OST. It's absolutely up to you. But a VMOST talks about your vision, your high level. Thanks, guys, for being our amazing scribes. You guys are fantastic. Thank you all so much. What your VMOST does is that it looks at your vision. So you are here today and you say, you know what, my vision is to rebrand myself as a teacher coach. I've been teaching for over 10 years, over 15 years. I've been teaching English. I've been teaching chemistry. I've taught preschoolers. I've taught primary school. I've taught Key Stage 1. I've taught Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4. I've taught the A levels. I've taught across. When new teachers come to my school, I'm the one that handles their onboarding sessions. So generally speaking, you have coached and you have the elements of being a really great teacher coach. So maybe in addition to what you currently are as a chemistry teacher, an English teacher, a head of school, you say to yourself, I want to do more, right? So your more becomes your vision. I would like to be this person who becomes a coach for other teachers, right? So when people are new in the industry, I want them to come to me, and I want to be visible. That's your vision, right? Your mission is then, what are the 1, 2, 3 things I want to be known for, that I want to keep doing, that makes sure that when I do these things, I can get to my vision, right? So that's like your mission is like your vision really broken down into recognizable language and into almost like a niche kind of, yeah. So that's what you're looking at. They're both high level strategies, but then you go to the objective. Why? Your objective is your why. You always need to be able to define your why. It's absolutely critical, because things will get tough. There are many days I said to myself, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I just can't. But the discipline of my objective keeps me going, right? When I understand my why, and my gosh, if I get out of this space, how is it going to be? That keeps me going. That is your why. That is your objective. It should be your driving force, right? Because it's honestly wakes you up and gets you out of bed every single morning. Then you need to think about your strategy. Your strategy, again, is your roadmap. but it is high level. So to be a teacher coach, it means that you need to have a portfolio, for example. Portfolio is a big picture. It's vague, right? When you break down portfolio and say, how do I take my portfolio out to people, you go into tactics. Tactics are your actionable steps. They're the 1, 2, 3 itty bitty things that when you do them, you can eventually become that teacher coach that you have wanted to be. That is the big picture that you have defined for yourself. Right? Do we get it? That's the power of the VMOST. And that's why I like it so much as a tool for defining your goals. It is such a powerful tool. Powerful tool. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, guys. Right? Of course, when you finish doing the VMOST, I would always say do a self-reflection. And the self-reflection, honestly, I've talked about it all of these places. All of these things that I was saying was asking you to reflect, right? But you want to reflect, and there are many different ways to do it. But I like to use, sorry, these glasses have become loose, so they keep falling. I need to get a new pair. My other pair, I just noticed that it broke. I have no idea how it broke. Okay, Jennifer, fantastic question. Your strategy is, I want to make lunch, right? Making lunch is my strategy. Or not lunch. I want to make rice, okay? Rice and stew. That's my strategy, right? Because that's a meal that I want to make, rice and stew. But then to make rice, I need to do what? I need to make sure that I have rice in the house. If I don't have rice in the house, I need to go and buy rice. That is action. That is a tactics. These are things, action steps that I must do. I need to make sure that I get rice. But then if I have rice, what do I need to do? I need to bring it out. I need to wash it. I need to parboil it and then wash it again. I need to salt it, but I need to make sure, of course, that is a pot to use. All of those things that you do that ensure eventually you can cook rice are tactics. Okay, these are 100% action oriented and they are input to output. Okay, those are your tactics. Does that answer the question, Jennifer? Oh, fantastic. Great. Yeah. So this is another self-reflection tool. It's a SWOT analysis. You can do this on a corporate, actually, all the tools I'm sharing, you can do them on a corporate level. You can do them on a personal level. You know, corporate means for your business, and I mean, personal means for you, right? I do this for my team. If we have a key stage 1 team, for example, we would look at their SWOT. How strong are they within the larger group, right? Within the Busy Minds group, right? We have a preschool, nursery school, preschool, primary school, and a secondary school. We have a teacher training institute. We have an entrepreneurship college for school leaders who want to come into the education space or who are struggling in the education space. You know, we have all of these things. So we need to look at the strengths of each one of these, the elements of who make Busy Mind School, right? We do all of these sort of strengths, right? These sort of reflections, because we want to say to ourselves, what do we need to do more of, right? Your strengths and your weaknesses are internal. You have control and influence over your strengths and your weaknesses. The opportunities and your threats are external. They happen outside of your business. And that's why I put them left versus right, right? So these on your left, on the left, strengths and weaknesses, they're inside, internal. I can manage them. But the opportunities, I can't manage them, right? So think about where you show up. For example, where I show up, there's some that I can control, but there's some places that because I'm building my brand, I may not be able to control it. If Joyce Gomina never reached out to me, how do I even know that there's a training for Afrelib? I might not know. But what I need to say to myself is, how can I position myself by leveraging my strength so I'm attracted to Afrelib to call me to come and have a training session? That's what I need to do. So that's what you need. You need to say to yourself, what are the opportunities that could possibly exist and that I can take advantage of simply because I am ready? That's what you need to look at, right? And that's extremely important. What are the threats that exist, either for your business, either for your brand, you personally, right? New schools springing up, new teachers buying, you know, teachers starting their own schools. Those are all threats that you honestly have no control over. But what you want to say to yourself is, how do I create a system that minimizes it? There's always risk. There's always threats. It's impossible that it doesn't exist. But how impactful is it? What can you do to minimize or mitigate it is the question, really, right? So that's what you want to do with your self-reflection tool, right? Okay. And then, of course, the advantages of doing all of these things are immense. Okay, I just listed 5, but sorry, 5, it's not 4, it's 5. But they're immense. There's so many of them. The first thing is that you can create connections. I think I have, what, 4,000 people on my Instagram, or is it 5,000? I'm not even sure how many people I have on my Instagram. Let me check that. 5,000, over 5,000 people on my Instagram. I can bet you maybe I know about 100 of those people face to face. I really know this person. But all of those people have found something to connect with me. And they're happy connecting with me. And I'm happy that they are as well, right? And those are the kind of things that having a strong brand identity as an educator, as anything does for you. It helps you to control your narrative. These days, I can pick and choose who I want to coach. I mean, I have a small group that I coach. Before you get on my personal coaching program, it's very difficult because I can pick and choose, right? I know what it is that I want, and I recognize people who I know that I can work with, I'm a very no BS kind of person. So, there are a lot of people can take that. They want me to spoon feed them. I'm not going to spoon feed you because I don't want to be your coach forever. I want us to move from a coaching relationship to a friendship. And for us to do that, it means you must be ready to do the work because that's what is sustainable in the type of model that I have. Yeah, it sets you apart. There are many things that people do that are just the way that are like me, right? We do similar things, but nobody can do it like KK. It's impossible, right? That's me setting myself apart. And that's what you need to begin to do. You need to identify those qualities that you have that helps you set yourself apart. It doesn't matter if 10 of you are standing in the same place. You set yourself apart. There's this bread, we all know bread, right? Somebody said to me, when you go into a shop, into a store, into wherever they sell bread, you would notice there's so many different brands of bread, so many different loaves, so many shapes and colors and all over. But there are times you go in there and there's no bread at all. People would always be similar to you. But guess what? There's a particular bread that before all the other sellouts, they're sold out. And there's some that people would only buy because that's the, and I only remember, let me just buy them. That's not who you want to be. You don't want to be the one that people just buy. No, that's not me. That shouldn't be you. Set yourself apart. You need to be able to demonstrate your abilities. If you give me a topic today and tell me, Keke, shut down your slide and teach on this topic, I can teach about it for 1 hour. It doesn't matter the topic. I have groomed myself across so many different areas. I am very strong in many, and I'm not blowing my trumpet. I'm just telling you my abilities. I'm very capable, very capable. And that's one of the reasons why I went into business analysis. I'm like, you know what? This looks like something that I would enjoy to do. Let me add it to it. You need to be able to see yourself like that and grow, right? And that's it. Growing your reach is the last one. You must be able to grow your reach. Some of you, if not that, I'm in this space, I would never have met you. But today you've heard about Okeyifu Ajayi. You've heard about Keke. That's what most people call me, Keke. You've heard about Keke. Next time you hear Keke, you're like, is it that lady? You know her. That's me growing my reach. And I'm not being paid to do this. Typically, I will get paid for this, but I'm not. Right? There are times when you build. You need to be able to say to yourself, in this branding that I'm doing, I need to build. When I taught this to some educators fairly recently, somebody said to me, oh, so how do I put my price? Is it possible for me to lower my price that will not affect my brand? I said, your brand and your price are two different things. Two different things. Your brand commands price. It's of your value. Your pricing it's not, I don't even call it a subset of branding, to be honest, right? Because pricing it's your product. Do you understand what I mean? They're your products that come out of your brand. You might decide to segment your product and say, oh, I have a little, one of my products is a low cost product. For example, this banner that you see on the screen, School Rewired Conference. It's my low-cost product, right? We started out, last year, and I said, you know what, there must be a way that I can reach tons of educators at once, because my physical programs, they're slightly, there's some cheap ones, there's some expensive ones, but there's some that people just can't travel to where I am, right? And so I said, we must do this. And we went online and said, you know what, let's consider the online space. And so School Rewired Conference is one of my cheapest products. And that I have that industry that is for just really low cost, but extremely impactful training services. They're very good. I mean, the people who are teaching at, go look at it, schoolrewired.com. The people who are teaching there, you cannot have a session with them and they're in that session for anything less than 50,000 naira. It's not possible. But just this week that we moved the price to 15,000. We started at 4,000 naira in March. In June, in July, we took it up to 7,000. And then we're like, you know what? With all this fuel and things going on in Nigeria, we discounted it to 5,500. Just on Monday, we took it up to 15,000. And we have people registering at 15,000 because they just saw it and they're like, oh my goodness, how did I miss this? And they paid because of the value that we carry. That's different. That's not your brand. Your brand is what helps you with segmentation, such that wherever you show up, people are gravitating towards you. That's your brand. And you need to be able to establish that. It creates value for you outside of your profession. And that's what I'm telling you about today. It's not, of course, within your profession, you have value, right? You're somebody who nobody wants to let go of. Once you're in that school, and you say you want to resign, they're like, you cannot resign. We reject your resignation. And that's it, right? That's how much, it's not like you then begin to hold the organization by the jugular, because again, when you think about branding and having a brand that is recognizable and a brand that is connectable, you're not somebody who takes advantage of people. You don't manipulate people. No, your value speaks for you, right? But in that school that you work, in that organization that you work, in that network that you belong, people want to hear you speak. That's how you are established as a brand. Okay, so what are 5 elements that you need to build your personal brand? First is your identity. And I've talked about that till I'm literally blue in the face. If not that I'm black, and that's it, I'd rather be blue, right? Your identity is critical. Consistency, you must do things consistently. Authenticity, who are you? Are you a copy? Like that guy that had the cloud on his face, he was just reflecting what other people, what was around him. Is that you? Are you? You don't have an identity. We don't even know you. Today you seem like this person. Tomorrow you're like that person. You must be authentic, and that it must shine through. You must be visible. Where are you? Where do you exist? Who knows you? Who sees you? Who communicates with you? Visibility is critical. And to be honest, in this day and age, we're talking digital visibility. All right. So you must be in the digital space. That you really can't escape it. Not anymore. You need to be seen, you need to be heard, you need to be read, you need to be felt. Those 4 are critical. I'll say them again. You need to be seen, you need to be read, you need to be heard, you need to be felt. Critical. And if one of our scribes can just help us again, that would be great. Right? So those 4, ask yourself, where am I seen? Okay? Seen could be your video, could be your pictures, something. Where am I read? Who is reading the material that you're putting out there? Are you putting material out there for people to read? That is the space of thought leadership. You need to be read. You need to be heard. What are you saying, right? What are you saying? Either via a video, either via a podcast, either via a voice note. And honestly, using your WhatsApp with your 100, 200, 3,000 contacts, sometimes it's enough. You start from where you are. You don't look and say, I want to start from there. No, you start from where you are and build up to where you want to go. And then felt. Remember, I talked about emotions. That's a critical one. Those 4, you need to ask yourself. And the question is, where do you need to go? Thanks for that, Maria. And thanks for putting that out there. You have to ask yourself those questions. So as I'm talking today, as we're going through this, I need you to begin to say to yourself, what do I need to start doing? Write it down. Don't just think it, write it down. There's a connection. I mean, I'm not doing talking about the brain today, but you know that there are neural pathways and connections that are strengthened just when you write. All right, so there is power in writing. There is power in writing. You can write it down, you can type it up, and to be honest, the book and the pen is mightier than your memory. You would forget. The pen wouldn't forget, or the book wouldn't forget. So write it down. So you can go back and say, these are the things I needed to do. What have I done? And of course, put a timeline to it, or you never get it done. Yeah, these are branding basics. Fantastic. Thank you so much for this, Danielle. I love it. Thank you for adding that. Thank you, Mariam and Danielle. You guys have been phenomenal in this session. These 9 are important. All right. When I did it before, there were 6, so they're 9 today. You know, clearly define where you want to be. That's critical. Okay. Remember VMOST. What's that vision? Where is that place you want to be? Network, collaborate intentionally. Okay. Don't be transactional. Don't simply do things because you want people to do things for you in return. No. Develop a relationship. A relationship makes you want to do things for people. There are times where I am so tired, right? I've had a manic week, like absolutely crazy week. And then somebody who I value comes to me and says, Keke, I need you to do this. And I'm tired, and I would say yes, because it's that person. That's the power of relationship. It doesn't matter the network. All right. Some of you saw this flyer today, and you're here because you're like, oh, it's KK. Let me go and listen to her speak. Let me go and support her. Right. And that's the power of building a network that goes beyond transaction. Okay. Consistency. I've talked about that. Identify what sets you apart and communicate it. All right, communicate it either via your blogs, via the way you speak in a video, in a voice note, just communicate it so that people can hear and recognize it. I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't heard that before. And then they gravitate towards you. Draw up your path to success. What is your strategy? What are the things that you're going to have to start doing to ensure that that strategy makes sense? How are you measuring it? Right? Are you active in your industry? You know, all of these things are important. Right? And then, of course, you need to really begin to think about those collaborators and start right now. All right. Again, these are the 6 I put before. Gap analysis is critical, and that needs to be done. So we've talked about this already, so I'm not going to spend time. That's why I spent a lot of time just really talking earlier. Okay. Define what makes you different from other people. You need to have that differentiating factor. It's so important. It is critical. All right. What is your differentiator? You need to know it, and you need to leverage it, because that's your strength. One of my differentiators is energy. Anytime you hear KK speak, you feel the energy, you feel her passion. That's just, it's one of my differentiators, right? And I leverage that because it connects, people can connect with that energy. All right, define your target audience. Who are you connecting with? Who are the people you want to reach? As that teacher coach, as that school leadership coach, as that teacher, as any, whatever it is that you want to be, whatever identity you want to assume, who is your audience? You need to clearly define that audience. Otherwise, you'll be saying things to the wrong people. They will never take you seriously, and they would undervalue you, right? Because you're not looking at the right target. It doesn't matter how many times, Maradona is dead now. Can you imagine? I wanted to say Maradona. If you take me and put Messi in front of me and say he should play, I don't value him because I'm not a football person. Some of you are like, don't say that, sacrilege. I don't value him. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing. When I just got married in 2005, I always like to sit here with my husband when he's watching football. After a while, I'm like, guy, please, I'm not for this football life. It just ain't me. So, and that's something I've come to recognize about myself. And we all need to sort of recognize those things about ourselves. So define your target audience, make it very clear. If you're a school, are you a high-priced school? Are you a low-priced school? Are you a medium-priced school? Understand who they are. Are you working with parents who are bankers? If you're working with bankers, your school must be open on time and you must close late. Otherwise, you can't have bankers. Not all of them have nannies. You must make it attractive for them. Early in the morning, 6:30, you're open. When they're going to work, they drop off. You're closing maybe late. You let them know, you know what, my boss can take your child home. you must make the package attractive because you are dealing with a particular audience, right? And that's critical for you. Okay, I hope we're learning, guys. Hope I'm not just talking to myself. Are we here? Is there learning? Is there learning going on?
Yes, Miss
Okay,
KK.
thank you. Okay, great. All right, and then of course your new besties, or your value and your consistency. Recognize your value, know who your value is for, and be consistent at it. Consistency doesn't mean doing it every day. It means that every single time you show up with value. And you're not just not showing up. Where do you show up? How do you show up? Why are you showing up? Those are critical for you. Okay? All right, thanks, guys. Yay, I feel loved. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. And then, of course, your work immersion. You must create a portfolio. If you're a school, your portfolio are your services, right? So what sort of services are you rendering? Who are you rendering them for? Be very clear. When you're putting out Instagram messages, WhatsApp messages, you're clearly, the way you are saying them, it just connects with that person. It just connects. If you have vacancies in your preschool, let a lot of your Instagram posts, your WhatsApp posts, your Facebook posts be dedicated to preschool, because that's the vacancy you want to fill. Talk about issues that preschool parents will connect with, how they eat, where they sleep, all of those things. That's what you want to do. That's how you're being very intentional. Create that portfolio and put it out there. All right, put it out there. Define your USP. Yeah, right. Your people call it unique selling point, unique service proposal, unique, whatever you want to call it that. But it needs to be out there and needs to be integrated very clearly into your portfolio. Community and network is a big deal. These kind of meetings, don't miss out on them. Don't. Grow yourself. And that's continuous development, right? So all of these three, when you combine them, then you begin to define the identity you want to be known for. Online, people are calling your name. Oh, me, this, and this. We're at this program. Oh, this person volunteered for this program. People begin to call you. They begin to tie your identity, your name, right? Your value begins to increase because of associations. You need to have the right associations. If you associate in the wrong places, it can diminish your value. And then you have to fight to redefine it and to bring it up. So be careful who you identify with. Be very careful with that. Yep. Okay. And we're wrapping up soon. And these are ways that you can define a strong online presence, and they would help you. Okay. Before you start to think about branding, what are the skills that you have? All right. Every single action that you take is based on the skill sets that you have. So if you have the wrong skill sets, then you may not be able to take those right action steps. It doesn't mean that you don't want to take them, you just can't, right? So these are some of the skills you want to focus on. Then more than this, do your gap analysis. Where do I want to be versus where I am? What is the gap? How can I close that gap? All right, you need to do that gap analysis, but these are some skills that they're called transferable skills. You can use them across several different industries, technology integration, critical thinking and problem solving, communication, right? This skill that I'm showing you is communication. And it's critical that you are a good communicator, okay? That is how, even no matter where you show up, people can connect with you. Be a good communicator. Thank you for this summary, Benita. Fantastic. Thank you for putting that out there. Collaborate and network. Self-care. Take care of yourself. There are days where I shut down. It doesn't matter what messages are on my phone. I just don't respond. They are my shutdown days. And I schedule my shutdown days. There are times in the middle of the day. I think it was Pamela, when she sent me a message, I said, I need to take a nap. Do you remember when I said that? Yeah, I need to take, I don't know if it was her, but I say to people, I'm like, you know what, I need to take a nap. I'll come back to you after I take my nap. And I will take my nap. It's safe. Okay, so scheduling rest. Oh, you do that as well, William. Oh, that's good. It's good. Schedule it in. I forget, so I will schedule it into my phone, and my phone would ring and remind me that I need to do it. It matters. If you cannot take care of yourself, then you cannot take care of other people. Yes, and remember, you want to be in that space of prominence. Okay, and then of course, some of these other skills that I put out there are great for you to have. This is a handy checklist. You remember, Joy, it was Joyce, it wasn't Pamela. Okay, so I'm talking to two different people. I'm getting confused right there. All right, Joyce, you cannot pour out of an empty anything, really. This is a really handy checklist that would help when you just want to think about it. I'll say take a picture of it, put it on your wall somewhere so that you remember it. Okay, that is extremely important. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so we're wrapping up now. Whatever you think about redefining, remember something already exists that is a definition. What you're trying to do is redefine it. So you need to already know what exists. If you don't know what exists, then you might be wasting your time trying to define it because you might be defining it wrong, right? Understanding what exists already tells you how people see you and the tags that people have placed on you. Then you can go about taking them off and replacing them when you begin to control your narrative. It requires dedication. You must be self-aware. Okay, maybe we'll have another session where we talk about self-awareness because that's a big deal. And that's what has helped me to be where I am today. There was a time where, to be honest, and maybe not so many years ago, maybe not so many years ago, to be honest, maybe about 9 years ago, I just said to myself, I cannot be a herd. I cannot be following where everybody else is following. And I said to myself, KK, what matters to you? What are your values? And I had to go through a process of self-discovery. I had to redefine what mattered to me. It was from that point on that I developed a voice, a strong voice, right? So self-awareness is a big deal. It's a really big deal. So you guys might want to think about plugging that in and finding somebody who can take that self-awareness session. It's a great one. And then, of course, the willingness to adapt, okay, is another very, very critical one. That's it from me today. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the time. It'll be great if you guys have questions. And I mean, I'm happy to take your questions at this time. Thank you all so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot, and I can say that for a number of people here, especially Miss Daniela, Miss Miriam, because they've been described in this meeting. Thank you so much, ma'am, for pointing out a lot. So please, if we have questions, you can send in your questions or raise your hand up and would give you the opportunity to speak. We're just going to take like 3 questions. You can also put it in the chat room and it will be read for everyone to hear.
Okay, somebody is asking, Mariam is asking, how do you develop communication skills? So the first question that I have for you, Mariam, is where are you? It's always about your audience, to be honest. Stakeholder management is a big deal, right? And so you're communicating to a certain group of people. They're your stakeholders. Who are the people you're communicating with? If you're a school leader, for example, you need to know who you're communicating with. You're communicating with your parents, with your staff, with vendors, with the government, right? And that's as a school leader. And that's another of my alarms that just went off, reminding me of something I need to do. So when you think about that, you then say to yourself, how am I communicating with these people right now? What is my shortfall, right? You must always have that gap analysis, understand what it is that is not there, right? And then you can begin to develop it. But one way that I develop communication skill, to be honest, is communicating. I put myself forward. Every time there was a meeting, I said, oh, can I be the one that would speak at that meeting? I would volunteer to facilitate sessions like this, right? And that's what I did. I started to develop myself. I have a very interesting personality. When I'm on a stage like this, I'm very extroverted. But when I'm alone with my family, oh my God, I'm just inside my house. I don't want to go anywhere. And it's difficult to believe when people see me, they're like, that's not true. But that's how I am, right? So I rather not be the life of the party, but because I understand what I carry on the inside and the fact that I need to communicate what I carry, I had to get out of my own head. Right. So that's another thing that you need to do. Get out of your own head and say to yourself, I need to get out of my own head and just go out there. You're going to miss it a few times. You're going to make a few mistakes, but you would not make the same mistakes again if you're intentional. So get out there, volunteer, ask for support, talk as much as possible, right? Sit down on Instagram and do live videos. Just collaborate with people. Call me, KK, let's do a live video together. And just start, just do something, right? Your WhatsApp is another great place to start as well. So just do it, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I believe that answered your question, Miss Mariam. It's by doing it, putting yourself out there. I have learned a lot. There's so much to go and reflect on. I mean, I thought I was doing anything. Thank you so much. Is there any other question so we can move on? I think one part that really struck me is a lot of things that have been said here really struck a chord. But the one towards the end, she says, if you cannot take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And as educators, we are caregivers. We cannot give from an empty bowl, and we cannot stop. There can't be an end to our learning and really taking care of ourselves. That's one of the things we addressed in the first batch of the Afrelib Teachers Network. We emphasized on the teachers' well-being and mental health. So we need to really look at how we are taking care of ourselves, not just our emotions, not just our mental health, even our portfolio, like Ms. Keke has told us. So yes, is there any other question so that we can allow her go to?
So I see a question from Jennifer. Jennifer
Okay.
says that she's passionate about helping teachers transform their limiting beliefs. She talks with a lot of teachers and see that most of them have lost their self-worth because of the way they view teaching in their career. The structuring this and building a brand around this has been difficult. So the first thing, Jennifer, so that's a coaching call, to be honest. But the first thing that I would say to you is you need to say, who are the teachers that you need to identify with? First of all, is it all teachers? Is it preschool teachers? Is it teachers in the public sector? Is it teachers in the private sector? You need to sort of have that idea, and you need to be seen as a teacher who is standing tall and doing much, right? Seeing is believing. If people don't see that you are more than a teacher, they're not going to want to give their career or their personal development to you. So yes, it is a great space to be, and you would honestly move very quickly in that space. But the question really is, how are you as a person? Are you somebody that they can connect with? Yes, and once people can connect with you, then it's easy. Think about yourself and say to yourself, how did I get to where I am today? What are the things that I needed to do? What are the questions I needed to answer? Those questions become a springboard for you, sort of, because when you are putting those questions out there and you're asking people, are you feeling like this? I remember when already you're creating a communication point there, and that way you're drawing people into your circle. That's what you want to start to do. Write a list of questions that you had, begin to use your content to answer those questions, and you would see people will be pulled in. Okay, but you must be that person who, people can connect with. Rose is asking and saying, is opening a kids club a good place to niche on? So to be honest, this is not a section for entrepreneurship. We're looking at identity and branding. Your product, which is a kids club, is a different conversation entirely. You need to say to yourself, when I think about entrepreneurship, right? First of all, do I have patient capital? Patient capital means I can literally do anything and I'm not waiting for the money to come in. That's patient capital. But if you're somebody who's in the space where you need money, right? This is a survival thing. Then you want to say to yourself, how viable is this thing I want to do? Is there a market out there? So run a pilot. Start a free kids club. How many people will register? Step it up and have people begin to pay for it when people register. If people don't register, you might be in the wrong market, or you might not have a product actually. Okay, so that's the question you need to really ask yourself. What's the other question? William, yeah. So Joyce is going to give the slides. I've sent them to her already. Can you recommend a book on branding? To be honest, I don't do recommend books, because what will appeal to me and what will appeal to other people might be very different. I would say go online, on YouTube, for example. There are tons of branding videos. Just type branding, a lot will pop up. Whichever one resonates with you based on where you are, start from there. That honestly is my advice. Danielle says, I understand my niche, but haven't figured out how to monetize it. Okay, so we can have a conversation, Danielle. We know each other, so we can have a conversation about how to do that pivot in your career. Yeah, okay, I think that is it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. We are so grateful.
Thank
I'll
you
just
so
go
much.
to the announcement so that we can wrap it up. Yes, so to join, and amazingly, a lot of people joined the Afrelib Teachers Network on the day we had a conference. And yes, I want to let you know that there's a referral bonus. So if you refer 5 people, you get 5% out of the payments that they make. So yes, if you are interested in joining, please just drop your number on the chat room and you will be contacted for those of us that are not yet in the ATN platform. And we'll be having more of Mrs. KK and other very seasoned educators come talk to us on things, subjects that would really, really be of value to us and our professional growth. Having said that, I want to find out, Miss Joyce, do you have anything to say before we call it a night?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. KK. I'm so honored that, the first time I spoke with KK and I got a message saying I can use voice notes. I was so excited because usually I love to do lots of voice notes. And Miss Pamela would say, "Oh, Miss Joyce, this is great." So it was like really good for me that I could do voice notes, and I'm just so grateful that we can reach you, we can talk to you. You had an option not to do a follow on, and it was so humbling to see that you said, "Oh, we can have a follow on. You can take question and answers," and that was really good. Yes, Mr. William is agreeing because he was the one who started that conversation. He said, "No, we need to have this," and we're really glad that you gave us this honor, this privilege. So thank you so much. And please, just so you know, we like to say this here, it's 10,000 naira for the whole year, and you have access to lots of trainings, and we love to celebrate teachers. We believe that teachers are doing a lot, and anything we can do to make sure that teachers get all the recognitions and all the support is what we are for. So we're looking forward to having every one of you on board if you're not there yet. So thank you so much, and over to you, Ms. Pamela. Thank you, Ms. KK. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Joyce. Once again, thank you so much, Miss KK. Thanks to everyone who has taken out time to be part of this. Like I promised you earlier that it's going to be worth your time. I believe you would agree with me that it was worth every single second spent here. Tell your friends, spread the word. You would have more of this at the Afrelib Teachers Network. Thank you so much, Miss KK. I can't stop saying thank you. And we would be ending the meeting now, and we've taken note of everyone who dropped their contact, and you will be contacted. So do have a wonderful night rest and a great day too.